Hey guys, what's going on? Tony and Tristan here, Zero Duck 30 Podcast. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. So check it out. We got some really cool promos for you guys right now. As Tristan always says, if you're not hunting wise, you're hunting dumb. So one thing we'd like to do is offer you guys, actually, Huntwise is offering a 20% discount off Elite version if you use Duck30 as the code. And the other thing we got is, you guys know, we just had put out our Dirty Duck Coffee podcast, and they're now offering a 15% discount, and you can use the code ZeroDuck15.
Yep. So today we got Billy Campbell on. You guys probably know him from Dr. Duck and YouTube and all that stuff, and we're super honored to have Billy on today, and we're excited, man. And Billy, what you got going on, man?
Yo. Hey, the honor's mine, guys. I appreciate the opportunity to come on you guys' show very much. And I ain't got nothing. Everything's cooking actually down here. It's about 104 degrees. It's hotter than a handful of rats wrestling in a wool sock, bro. I mean, I did a podcast last week with the guy from Brad Heidel from Delta, Super Dude, and I was trying to explain to him, he lives in Wisconsin. I think it's like in the 70s there. I don't know what the temperature is where you guys are, but you can't even you got to be careful when you go out to cook. If you're going to cook on the grill, you got to be careful if that grill is sitting in the sun where you grab that thing before you even light it. I mean, it is hot.
No, we don't have it as hot as you got it in Texas, man, but we're in Hotlanta, so you know how that is. It's pretty hot up here.
Oh yeah. Unless we get to go down yonder on the Chattahoochee, that's about the only time, and then it's about 55 degrees. But
and I got to do that last year. I went up there and visited my son and went to the Braves game, and we had to go float the Chattahoochee. That was a good time.
Heck yeah, man.
Yep. So, man, we're just humbled to death to have you on the show. Just like other listeners, we're just normal guys, normal hunting guys, and we watching this crazy sport on TV and stuff. And I mean, who doesn't know Billy Campbell and Dr. Duck? Who doesn't? I mean, who doesn't? You guys are the most popular rednecks in the duck hunting industry, man.
I don't know how popular we are, but we've been at it a long time, and I think that's the cool thing about it. Dennis is a wonderful man, and I've been blessed to have him for a hunting partner for 30 years or so now, and it's just for us. You mentioned it. You talk about watching people on TV. Everything we watched on TV was private land stuff, and we didn't have access to a lot of that. We were public land guys, and we always talked about how cool would it be, if somebody would do something on public and show what these hardworking public guys do and go through, and the boat races and trying to get the hole, and you got somebody set up 40, 50 yards from you trying to shoot you swings, and nobody ever shows any of that stuff. They just show up, shoot ducks, and that's the show. And so to see that come to fruition years later and have the opportunity to work with some great people and not really share our stories so much, but we feel like we just want to represent all the hardworking public land guys out there, man. It's been an honor for us, a blessing, and obviously anytime you get outside, it's a good time.
Heck yeah. And man, it's one thing, I think a lot of people think with anything, it might be with music or it might be with, whatever, you name anything, it can be that. But people think like, oh, this happened overnight. And like you said, you and Dennis have been hunting together for 30 years. And I know I listen to your podcast, I hear you guys talk about the history of you guys hunting a lot. And, I just think it's important that, people that are new to hunting that are just coming around and seeing, oh yeah, Dr. Duck, it's like these guys have been doing this for a long time.
That's right.
Like longer than I've been alive.
Hey, slow down, man. You're going to start making us feel old.
Yeah.
we dead man walking.
These young punks, man, what are you going to do? No, man. So, Billy, give everybody a little bit of background about yourself, because I'm just like everybody else. I want to know, hey, who's Billy off camera? Where'd you come from? How'd you get in the sport? And kind of talk about that, as you guys say, the journey.
Yeah, man. Thank you for that, Tony. I never, I grew up in Arkansas, and it's really a funny story because I never duck hunted.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up. My dad worked a lot, and every day he had off. There's no place he'd rather be than in the woods, and it was either fishing or squirrel hunting for the most part. A little bit of deer hunting sprinkled in there, but if he could fish or chase squirrels, man, that's where we were going. And so I grew up outdoors, a lot of public land. We had some family land there in Arkansas, and I spent my younger years till I was, and I say young, I mean I started really young, as you probably did with your boy too. A lot of us who grow up outdoors, we get our kids started really early, and just toting them along, And
Mm-hmm.
I can remember walking miles for a squirrel. I remember not understanding it, but it was always good time sharing with my dad, which taught me a lot of life lessons, as you're well aware.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost my father. He was in an accident when I was probably 10, and he later passed away from that. And he was in a coma for several years. And during that time, we moved to East Texas. And as I got a little older, got in my teenage years, he passed away. And as most of us do during that time, or a lot of us did then, I got away from hunting, and I developed a career. I got married, had kids, started having kids, and Dennis and I had a mutual friend, and the guy asked me, he said, "Did you grow up doing a lot of hunting?" And yeah, I did. And he said, "Well, I got a buddy, man. He loves to hunt, and he ain't got nobody stupid enough to go duck hunt with him." And he said, I think you'd fit right in." I don't know if that was a compliment or not, but it turned out to be one of the greatest things ever. I'm not gonna lie to you. So, and the
And
funny,
how old were you?
really funny.
How old were you?
I was early mid 20s, early to mid 20s.
Okay.
It's right around 25 to 30 years ago.
Okay.
And he actually I went to his son's birthday party, and he introduced me to this guy. And it was that season that we ended up hunting together, and he had never been, I had never been. And we went by ourselves down to a river. And I tell you what, we spent the next 6, 7 years getting everything we owned stuck, ruining everything we had, trying to figure out how to blow a duck call. We didn't have nobody in our family. We didn't have any friends that did that. I mean, in all honesty, 30 years ago in East Texas, the duck hunting wasn't what it is in this area today. And we had a good time learning, and we really learned a lot on our own, and did all that on public ground. And we're blessed with a lot of really good lakes in this area. We eventually, we finally got us a boat. I remember it was his mother-in-law's dad is his granddad that gave us a little old V-bottom. We had to get a little 9-horse fixed up on it, and we used it to get around. And I say we worked on it, but it didn't work half the time. I mean, we've all been through those years,
Mm-hmm.
but that's kind of what's made it so important for us. I mean, we realized later in life, I mean, there's so many different things going on, and so many young kids getting into this sport. It's such a great thing. And then there's so many folks that get upset because they don't know, they really don't know the right way to go about things. And, we were there, we understand it,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't have anybody to help us. And so, I don't know, we thought it'd be great to be able to share the story and how we do things on public ground, just to, I don't know. That's kind of where I come from, though. I've been in here in East Texas ever since, and Dennis and I have had a lot of buddies along the way that come and go, and that buddy of mine was right. I'm the only one dumb enough to keep duck hunting with Dennis. He nailed it.
Well, as time goes on, I'm 50, and I know you're right around me, and I've just kind of learned the older I get that, and I heard my pastor say it too one time. He goes, the older you get, he goes, you're going to have friends. You're going to have them, and stuff, but you're going to have these ones, and I call it the mover guys, when you can call them up and say, hey buddy, I got to move. And he's like, all right, I'll be there.
Yeah.
That's that guy or gal that's your friend. And it's just so neat that you guys were able to connect like that. And immediately, I'm sure there's been times where you wanted to kill each other. And,
lots of all the time.
But I can relate.
Man, Billy, thinking of what he was just saying about wanting to kill each other is like, I know
that's half the reason why people hunt with us.
Yeah. So, like, we were talking to this couple, True Southern Waterfowl, True Southern Waterfowl is what their page is called and stuff. And they're a married couple, husband and wife. They're out hunting. I'm like, I kind of relate to that. Like, me and my dad are kind of like a married couple out there, like arguing about, however we got the decoys set up or whatever. Like, so I'd imagine it's got to be the same way with you and Dennis.
And I'm going to interrupt real quick. And forgive me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, edit this out. No, I'm just kidding. No, but you guys talked a little bit about that and preparation. And I don't remember if it was Dennis that was talking about or you, and I think it was off of a podcast this year, but you guys were talking, and Dennis, it was Dennis see, here comes the memory, Billy. Dennis was talking about how if you get there and you're prepared and everything, then you don't have, lack of a better phrase, too many Indians or too many chiefs and not enough Indians. You get too many people's opinions.
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Because you're nervous and everything's trying to get set up at the last minute, and then you got everybody, and it becomes real stressful. And man, that's a great point.
Yeah, and I think that's something that, as you know, comes along with experience. And he, when most people scout, you're looking for a couple things. Obviously, one of those is birds, but I can't tell you how many times I sit at the truck done with what I'm doing, waiting on him to come out the woods. He will absolutely sneak in there, sit down, and he will just, like a kid watching Scooby-Doo on TV or whatever the cartoon's already watching. I mean, he will sit there and watch those ducks. And when he comes out, I mean, you'll know immediately just by the look on his face. And he's got it all figured out. He'll know where we need to set up, what the wind's going to do, how many people we can hide, the whole deal. And it doesn't, I'm not saying it always works out.
Mm-hmm.
Ducks are going to be ducks. And,
right.
And you can't control Mother Nature and you can't control ducks, but I can't tell you enough. And I mean, that's why he is who he is. How many times things work out that, I mean, I think we had a hunt last year and we got a video on it, and both our boys were able to be there, and it was a great experience. We were in a low water area, and we scouted solid for 2 days, sun up to sundown. I think, I know I walk 9, 10, 11 miles a day, easy. That's after boat rides, and we could not find birds at all. And people ask us, how many birds you want to see to set up on a hole? And I would very quickly tell you that if I don't see several hundred mallards at least on public ground, that I would be very hesitant to hunt that.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are scouting, there ain't nobody messing with them.
Mm-hmm.
You show up tomorrow morning, how do you know? You don't know how many guys are going to be between you and that roost that are going to be working, trafficking, shooting at these birds, changing directions, plus all the traffic in the woods. You just never know. That morning, we set up on 7 mallards.
Nice.
Oh,
man.
7 ducks. And I'll never forget that feeling, thinking he's reached his mental capacity. He's gotten too old and he is completely lost. It is over for us. We're setting up on 7 ducks. Never in my life would I hear Dr. Duck say, hey, I got the mother load, baby. We're setting up on half a dozen mallards in the morning. I mean, and it's not that we wouldn't go, but we might go to a spot that we know we could traffic. You know what I mean?
Right.
We ended up shooting 20 something ducks out of that spot the next morning.
Wow.
as I asked him, he talked about it on the film, and we also did a podcast on it, I think, but he talked about how confident and comfortable those birds were coming in, that he knew there'd be more than that the next day. And that's I've been doing it just as long as he has, but that is not something that I would have.
He's the beast master,
man.
I mean,
he's tricky for sure.
Wow.
Man, to pick up on that, just the body language. And I mean, when I hear that, I think of like a big mature buck. You guys always talk about like, you always talk about the public land educated. What does Dennis call them? Ivy League birds.
Ivy League birds.
Ivy League, yeah.
So, like the big mature buck, that he ain't going to come through at the normal time. He ain't going to go in the winds a certain way. And it's, him just to have that knowledge, that's what I think of, coming from a bow hunting background before we got into duck hunting, is like just these mature animals that know,
Yeah,
to have that experience to know too. I mean,
yeah,
impressive.
No, it's super impressive. I mean, it's one thing, but for him to pick up on that behavior, it gave you odds in your favor, and he felt good about it, and that's just an incredible, like, one of those things that happens to you, behind the scenes, where decisions made, and Billy, I mean, wouldn't you guys say? You talked earlier on about, just basically getting your butts kicked when you were young, and you guys were getting into the sport. A relatable story I have that comes to mind is, I asked my dad when I was framing and doing my first drywalling in my basement, I said, "Hey, how did Grandpa get so good at doing that stuff?" And he said, "Well," he goes, "he took me over one time and we were building onto the house, and he said there's guys doing drywall and they're moving pretty slow. And Grandpa walked in there about 60 years old, and he said, 'Why are you guys doing it like that?' And he said, 'I don't know.' And he said Grandpa took one sheet of drywall himself with one hand, put it up on the ceiling, drilled that sucker in, and put that thing up, and it was perfect." And his brother said, "Grandpa," he goes, or Dad, he goes, "How'd you get so good at that?" He goes, "Oh, guys," he goes, "I've cost us so much money." he goes, I've made so many mistakes and had so many problems." But talk about that a little bit with, from where you guys were, that's got to be relatable. I mean, Dennis had to learn that from field, studying the ducks, conditions, all that stuff.
Yeah, 100. And that's again where, his name was kind of a joke between us friends, because he put so much effort into learning all these little things. And I'm not going to lie to you. I admit, when, especially in your 20s, you're going duck hunting, you just want to kill stuff.
Right.
And I wasn't one, and most of everybody else that we ended up running into, everybody just wanted to go kill ducks. How many ducks could we shoot? And Dennis, I'm not going to say he doesn't like to kill ducks. He's probably he's definitely the shooter of our group, has been forever, but he just pays attention to those details. And you make a really good point, the story about your grandpa. I mean, if you don't hunt and you don't spend time outdoors, you don't get it. Mm-hmm. And we get criticized as outdoorsmen, as hunters all the time for killing animals and or wasting time, spending money on hobbies and whatever. The bottom line is especially after losing my father, and what a blessing you two have, being able to share time together. I know you don't kill each other sometimes, but trust me, just having you around is such a big deal. I can remember, in the small amount of time that I got to spend with my dad, all the failure, all the walks chasing them squirrels, and the conversations you have, paying attention to what's going on. It is those mistakes. It is those butt whoopings that, just like life, if you're not learning from that stuff, you're probably not going to get very far with what you're doing,
Right.
And that it's just that, I mean, that's the bottom line. And we took some really good butt whoopings, so we learned a little extra bit, I think.
Billy, one thing that you brought up earlier and kind of tied into what you were just saying just now is like, talking about when you guys were younger and those years that you were, having these, learning, growing pains and that kind of thing. And, fortunately enough, I have my dad that's, 50, and not that, we're big bow hunters and stuff. So it's not like he had the biggest duck hunting background, but we've had two minds to kind of learn together, and obviously he's got some years on me, but my generation is such an instant gratification, want it right now. And it's like, you guys were talking about the other day, like videos on Instagram and stuff, the public versus private podcast, like seeing videos and stuff, like all these birds, and that's not the reality of it most of the time. And like, what would you say to like people in my generation that, are less tolerant to taking those butt whoopings because they want that instant, if I don't kill,
what a great point.
If I don't kill, a limit in my first couple duck hunts, I'm out, like, what would you say to those people?
Well, we have that opportunity on occasion with a lot of the people we meet at shows and such. And, and you talk to kids at the boat ramp, and I've seen kids that want to pack it up and go home. And, we always try and tell them, look, you never know what could happen tomorrow. And you never want to be critical or preach necessarily, but that's where this enjoy the journey thing came from. And for us, I think at the end of the day, if we go, and we went for years, and I'm telling you, man, if we shot a wood duck or if we shot a merganser, it'd be a pretty good day, you know. And we finally started learning, and when kids, the younger guys come in, they do see all that, and even our shows, and that's why we find it more important to talk about it, because we are very fortunate. We do find success, but we also travel a lot, and we spend a lot of time in the field, and more importantly, it's not something we started yesterday. A lot of the guys that I get to talking to, I started hunting 2 years ago, and we just haven't had that success. You gotta really focus, and this is what I would share. You got to really focus, and it may sound cliche now, especially with that hashtag, but on the journey. I mean, the best memories, man, that I have in my life are of, having my kids, having friends, being in, if me and Dennis would find ducks on a Thursday, he would be so excited. Hey, we'd get back to boat ramp, and he said, I'm not leaving.
Man,
season don't open till Saturday, brother. We found the mother load on Thursday, and I'm not leaving. And eventually you knew that was coming, so you were either prepared, which I usually am, or back then I'd say, all right, well, you take the boat, I'll run home, I'll get camp and stuff, I'll go pick up some fried chicken, because we could eat cold fried chicken all weekend, and I'd come back, and if I could, to be honest with you, I had a pretty big job back then, and Dennis owned his own HVAC or worked in air conditioning his whole career, so he had a little bit of flexible schedule during the winter months. So there are days that I'd leave him, and I'd leave him out there Thursday. I'd go to work Friday. I'd come back Friday. He ain't ate. He ain't changed clothes. He ain't got a sleeping bag. He ain't got a tent. He just laying out there a couple 100 yards from the hole, making sure nobody else gets in there in his clothes. I mean, that's it. And I'd come out as soon as I could Friday after work. I'd bring food, bring him, his hunting gear, and we'd get after it. But it's just those memories. A lot of people go camp. A lot of people go hike. I get every time we go duck hunt. Yeah. And it really isn't. Look, limits are nice, and there's nothing like working a duck. For me, I don't even care if I shoot it. If I get that duck to the water, I'm celebrating. Everybody else can shoot it. I don't even have to pull the trigger. That's a great day for me. But it's all the little things that happen, from finding them, the camp in the hole or camp in the boat ramp, and the people, man. It's public ground, and that's one of the big differences. I get to I'm going to speak on the Real Tree stage at the Delta event in Arkansas. I'm pretty stoked about that, but
wow,
it's going to be one of the things I'm going to talk about, which is, if you go hunt private with your group of buddies all year, those are really good times. There's nothing like deer camp, duck camp.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go hunt public ground, you meet new people all the time.
Yeah.
And what a huge opportunity for you to build more relationships, have positive impact on people. And that's something that I think got lost along the way, and something else that he and I talk about too. But to kind of sum all that up, I'm sorry to drag it out. It's just that journey. It's all those little things that come in there. You need to figure out how to enjoy that.
Right.
And if you really don't, then maybe duck hunting isn't for you.
It's a great point.
That is an awesome point. You know, who was we speaking with that talked about it being such a communal sport?
Stevie from Mojo.
Stevie from Mojo. She was talking about it being such a communal sport. And I never heard that word used with duck hunting. And it's so true. You know, you sit up in a tree as a deer hunter, and it takes a lot of patience. You're by yourself and everything. And everybody always loved deer camp because you just came from being in isolation to a social event. You know, with duck hunting, you get to experience that process the whole hunt.
The social
That's
event
right.
during the hunt.
Yeah, you do. And, you know, I think Ramsey Russell said it best when we talked to him. He said, you know, we don't sell duck hunts. We sell experiences.
Yeah.
And everybody's experience is different. And you're right. I mean, what 25-year-old guy doesn't want to go hang out with some buddies, eat some barbecue or whatever it is, stay up all night, be away from their significant other, and hang out with their buddies?
Whoa, take it easy. You're going to be in trouble.
No.
I was about to say, you just lost one of your kitchen passes. I think.
I didn't say anything about drinking beer. I just talked about but the point is that, you know, a lot of young people, you know, I remember I did too when I was young, you know, hitting them bars, doing that stuff every weekend, you know, because at that age you're in your prime and it's fun. And it's a good time together to socialize with people, you know, and you're right, Billy, man. That is what it's all about. And for you to take what Tristan's question was and basically move it off the topic of killing something to what it's really all about is so awesome. And you guys, I think, display that on a every ounce basis. I mean,
oh, for sure. I mean, y'all, I mean, coming from an East Coast, like, you know, kind of mindset with duck hunting, it's not like we don't get any opportunities to like work mallards or anything down in, you know, Florida, Georgia, or anything like that. And just the public land, I mean, there's less birds in the Atlantic Flyway. It just is what it is. And the grind of public land, like that's the way it is. Like there's no getting around it. Even on like you're not going to shoot them good on public land around here. And if you do, you're extremely lucky. And you know, to take that mindset, I think that kind of helped me early on with duck hunting because that was all I knew. And then, you know, going over to like Arkansas, for example, which, you know, you guys were a big inspiration for me and my dad to, you know, believe like, hey, you know.
We made 2 episodes because of them. I mean, honestly, we did our Arkansas 1 and 2 because we really wanted to show what it took to go hunt Arkansas for the first time.
Yeah, and, you know, y'all were a big inspiration for us to be like, all right, you know, we feel like we can go out here and do this, and just even if we don't kill anything, we'll try to figure it out, you know. And the big thing was, you know, we took 4 days to scout before we even hunted because we had heard you guys talk so much about the scouting and like, you know, just being polite to people and that kind of thing. And I think this flyway, just to sum it up, kind of helped me with like having patience over there and also being a deer hunter too. Those 2 things helped me with like, you know, public land over there.
Sure, for sure.
But
yeah, I can see how deer hunting would do. I had never done anything but sleep in a deer blind. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah, man, it's
Stevie at Mojo's such a wonderful person. I've been blessed to know her and Kyle for several years, and you're right, she did nail it. I mean, if you think about it, Tristan, if you get something really cool in the mail today. I mean, super cool. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, what's the first thing you're going to do?
I'll put it on Instagram probably.
You gonna share it with somebody.
Yeah.
Y'all gonna share on Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna call somebody. You know,
Yeah.
if it's duck related, I'm gonna call Dennis.
Yeah.
You know, if it's but that really, it's cool to get cool stuff, but it's a lot cooler to share it with other people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same thing with duck hunting. You know, it's just these guys are getting these little clicks, and that's fine. It happens a lot, and it's a lot of people think, man, it's getting so bad on public. It is not getting. It ain't getting no worse than it was 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It really ain't. There's statistically proven there's less people. Now there are rules. I think some of the rules in Arkansas have bottlenecked traffic, but anyway, here nor there. It just makes the experience that much more better when you can share it with others.
Yeah,
and that's just a fact.
For sure. And it's, like you were saying earlier, if you call a bird to the water, that's what makes your day. And it's true. Like, you're talking about younger guys just wanting to shoot birds, but after duck hunting for a few years, I'm already starting to feel that way where I'm just enjoying other people being successful. And they talk about that as basic as your hunter safety class growing up, the stages of a hunter,
Yep.
once you get older, you're enjoying other people doing it and getting them into the sport. And I'm kind of in that transition right now, I feel like, but that's just a great point, man.
Yeah, for sure. Man, Billy, I couldn't have you on here without, when the duck world exploded with you guys' success on the opening weekend this year on public land.
That was a big hunt, wasn't it?
Man,
Yeah.
dude. And let me tell you that, putting myself in you guys' shoes, and especially after hearing everything today so far, is what, man, was it like a dream world, or what happened? Was it the upside down world on the positive? Man, that had to be just the most fulfilling thing you and Dennis have ever seen. Unless you had something better than that.
Well, I'll be honest with you. We've had some big days, we've had some good days, and and we've had bigger and better, but the way that happened, and for that to happen in Arkansas, because you never know what's going to happen. I really thought that was a true testament to the way Dennis does things, and I think that I'm not going to say. Let me put it this way. I think it's 2 Timothy 3:12 maybe that. And I could be wrong. I had to look that up, but there's a scripture that was very important to me for a long period of my life, which states that, look, just because you believe in God and you do things the right way, it doesn't mean everything's going to go your way. And in fact, you could be persecuted because of the way you believe. And you hear so many people say, "Hey, you just trust God, everything will be okay." It doesn't mean that tribulations and bad things aren't going to happen.
Sure.
And I think some people forget that. And the thing that matters most is, especially when you have a lot of eyeballs on you, and I'm not talking about the video stuff. I'm talking about obviously when you hit the boat ramp and people are getting to know you and you have one-on-one experiences with other people. Dennis handles those experiences the right way. And that morning we had it was just me and Dennis, and we met a couple friends of ours in Arkansas who typically they don't live in the area we were hunting that weekend. They live in another area, but we go up early and try and find concentrated birds on refuges and whatever. We ended up, they're going to hunt with us, and then we're at the boat ramp one day, and this kid's boat broke down, and Dennis offered him to jump in with us, so we added him to the group. So we're at 9 or 10, and then he ran in this other guy scouting, and then him and his buddy happened to be, one of them was from East Texas originally, who lives over that area now. They asked if they could hunt. So we got a pretty big group right now, probably 10, 11 people open in the morning. And, over there, you can't walk in a lot of these places. You're not sure what hole you're going to get. And I mean, you know the deal, but we show up on the bank of the river and we run into another group from Florida, 5 people, and this was their first time ever hunting Arkansas.
Oh wow.
And they'd never been here. They got a tip on a hole and they were going to go hunt this hole. And Dennis knew what the water levels were and talked to him a little bit and said, I think it'd be in your best interest to come hunt with us.
Wow.
You get that hole, you go get that hole, it'll be fine. Go do your thing. But if you want to hunt with us, I think our spot would be a better spot. And so those guys jump in, and then there's another 4 or 5 guys that end up showing up with the other guy that we said we could hunt, and we ended up with 23 people that morning.
Goodness,
man, that is such a testament to like the character of you guys. Like, hear that, Dennis told, most guys, not most guys, but there's people on public land that would say, yeah, you're going to shoot the heck out of them over in that hole. Go,
absolutely.
But Dennis is, to be honest,
knowing there ain't a drop of water in it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And just for
it shows cool, his honesty deeply.
Wow. No, it does. But listen to this. So there's a hole there that probably anybody would want to have on opening day.
Mm-hmm.
And we had decided, we made a last minute call that we're not going to try and get that hole. We're going to get this hole down the way a little bit, and we think it'll be good, and we'll be able to. I mean, either one of them could be hot either day. Ducks are ducks.
Right.
We rushed. We got one of the guys that showed up knew the area very well. He lived in that area, and he was a friend of a friend, and he offered to run the hole. Anyway, and then another buddy of ours ran it with him, and we come trucking up behind him, and we realize when we get there that no one is in that number 1 hole.
Wow.
And so, like I said, it's just one of them mornings that absolutely everything. You don't say no. We didn't say no to anybody. Look, there's days you just can't add anybody to the group just because the number of places you got to hide or boats you got or where you're going. Sometimes it just doesn't work. But that morning, 23 people. Wow. You could just see a cluster around the corner, and then we get up here.
I'm thinking about all the mistakes that
right. Well, both of these holes are available, and so we start thinking, well, let's just go get the number 1 hole. So y'all want to split up? We could do 2 groups, and everybody agreed, you know what, this will be a better time if we just shared it together. It's opening day. And I don't know if y'all remember opening day last year, but it was that full moon.
Mm-hmm.
It sat real low. Our guy got some really good footage of that, and we all set up, and man, that was, as I said it in the video, I think the one of them guys that we ended up hunting with, that I gave him a big old hug and told him I was ready to go home now. Essentially, I'm pretty sure we had about 700-800 mallards hit the water in the moonlight right before shooting light. It was a marvelous sight to see, and that's. I've seen groups of ducks hit the water many mornings, but when you can see 700-800 of them hit in the Arkansas trees under a full moon and a clear sky right before shooting light, it is something magical.
Wow!
And,
on public land.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we could have shot a couple thousand ducks that day if we wanted to. But
goodness gracious!
We shot. Obviously, we got on them pretty good early, and then we started. A lot of us stepped to the back and we had some kids with us that we had met. They're young kids, a couple of them in high school, a couple of them in college. And, we get behind them, let them shoot. And we had to be careful after those first couple groups because we had so many ducks down anyway. So
Wow.
It just gave us an opportunity to make sure that everybody got to shoot and everybody got their birds, and we do a pretty good job. We've been around the block. Nobody wants to get in trouble, and we did a good job keeping everything separated. And it was just there weren't, there were a couple groups later that neighbors shooting bothered, and that happens. It's part of it. But I will never forget when we all come out of there, the smile on that guy from Florida's face.
That's so awesome, man.
That fella's name was Tripp, and he had brought his wife and their two friends, and that was their first trip over there.
Wow.
And I saw that man's teeth from the time that hunt started till the time we got back to the boat and shook hands. I ain't seen him since, but I'll never forget them teeth, boy. That sucker had a smile from ear to ear. But the game warden was waiting on us.
Yeah, he's like, who's doing all that shooting?
Yeah, and there's one of them. We've had really good experiences with a lot of these guys who they've got a really tough job, and we've had some bad experiences as well. But there's one guy over there I particularly really like, and he's always very kind and courteous and service, man. I mean, he's all about it. He gets it. But he pulled me aside and he said, "Hey, did you guys run multiple groups and then come together afterwards, or did you shoot all those ducks in that one hole?" So we shot every one of them in that one hole, all 23 of them. And he said, I've been out here, I've worked this area for 18 years. It's the most mallard only limit I've seen pulled out of one hole out here since I've been here. And that's, he said a lot of people get in there and work different corners, different holes next to each other and put them together. And not saying it ain't been done, it's just saying what he's seen. And
right.
To have people you don't know, people you just met, old friends, to go out there and have a time like that and see such a sight like that and have everything come together like that. It was definitely and as you say, Tony, having it all come together on public ground, that was quite a treat, man.
I'm thinking as a 50-year-old guy when I'm watching it, and I'm being serious now. I don't mean to get all emotional, but I'm telling you that I'm watching that as a man, as a guy that is, I haven't seen it all, but I've seen a lot, and I could have died right there, man. I mean, I really could have, and it brought a little bit of a tear to my eye just to hear when you guys started talking about, was it how many states represented in that?
I want to say 6 or 7.
Yeah,
I could be wrong. I'd have to go back and look.
7 sounds right. I feel like I've heard y'all say that.
Yeah, I mean, it blew my mind because we've all had that bad experience out in public land. If you hunt enough, and when I say bad experience, what I'm talking about is, in 2020, my statement, my motto was, you can't fix stupid. You just can't. And you can get frustrated by people like that, or you can just move on and keep doing what you do, and that comes to everything in life, you're always going to find them.
And Billy, one thing, you guys talked about this on the podcast early on, and that happened this season that kind of struck me because I felt bad for the guy because, being I'd imagine he's probably in his 20s. You told this story about this young guy that, got this hole, did all the work he needed to do, and then got ran off by a 50-year-old guy or whatever, and how disappointed you and Dennis were about that, man. And that just hits home to, I think, a lot of hunters, but it's just, I don't know, man. You hate to see that kind of thing,
Well, Tristan talks a lot about, we've got a group page, it's the reality of duck hunting, and that's what you guys have led the forefronts with, is just showing what it's really like, and then we're big about that too. And one of the things, I mean, I don't want to put a phrase on it like all the left wingers do, but there's some bullying that goes on, and it's bull crap that a guy or a gal or a kid or whatever that's trying to get into the sport can't go onto a Facebook page and ask an innocent question, show one picture of a duck they shot or whatever, And it's also the same thing when we're amongst each other as well.
Yeah. It's I don't get it either, Tony. I get so many invitations to be on all these group, all I don't know, Facebook stuff, and there's still you'll know. I don't know that Tristan will know what I'm talking about, but you got them old them message boards.
Yep.
Remember them? Remember the old message boards?
Oh yeah.
There's several in the duck hunting community that are still probably the biggest places to go to talk about ducks, and they're very popular places to go. And I can't get on any of them. It burns me absolutely up. Look, I ain't talking about giving nobody holes. But there ain't no reason you can't. And in our world today, with all the things that are going on, if we as outdoorsmen, especially in the waterfowl world, if us as duck hunters can't act like we're on the same team and be kind to one another, take care of one another, I mean, what's that say for the entire planet? I mean, it's just it's not good, and that's something that Dennis and I have both taken to heart. And at the end of the day, if we'd have had 23 people in there shot 7, hey, we had one of those last year. We had a pretty big group end up happening on accident last year, and I think we shot. We had one day we got skunked. We had 13 people. It wasn't that big, but 13 is a pretty big group.
Yeah,
we got absolutely skunked, and I posted that picture up too because it was a great day with great people, a memorable time. Look, we all have bad days. Mm-hmm. We all got questions while we're learning. To be rude to anybody else, look, and I can talk trash with the best of them.
Right.
I mean, I'll do it more Dennis than anybody just because we're good friends and ain't nobody going to be mad at each other. But if I don't know you and you need help, I would, if you don't know me and I need help, I would hope that you would help me. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to make sure, because there's bigger and better places I got to be than what's going on right now. So I want to make sure I treat other people right. Mm-hmm. And that's something that we take to heart, and we try very hard to do.
Well, and you know what? We keep doing what we're doing. You guys, obviously, I mean, to me, you're just kind of leading the forefront of it. The image, is we keep that positive message going, and we keep practicing that. It starts to become a habit of people. The younger people hear it. And this as well as I do, Billy. It's no different raising our kids. How we want them to grow up. You want to teach them certain things, so that they have that same kind of respect to others and elders and other people, and it's all those values. And the more that we continue to do this, it's only going to impact our sport in a positive way.
And it is, and I don't mean to sound all negative.
Not at all.
I just think we should all have impact, and that's one of the reasons we continue to do what we do with the video stuff, and another reason we stay on public ground. And it's all about impact. And I got to tell you, I get a ton of messages on social media, and I'll get a lot during duck season. It'll tell me, hey, I just want to share this story with you. I got to hunt today, and this guy's boat broke down, and I invited him to hunt with us, and we killed the mess out of him, and we're going hunting again next week together.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. And so I do believe that all the people like you, I listen to some of you guys' stuff, and you guys are talking about it too. And the more people that we could get talking about this, the more importantly, the more people we get actually living that way and treating others with that respect we're talking about, the more impact it's going to have. And it doesn't mean you're going to give everybody all your secrets. It just means we're going to take care of each other, and we're going to be better for it in the end.
That's right. And with all this that we've been talking about, my mind is going at 100 miles an hour, and and just something hit me, maybe call it the Lord himself, I guess, but that opening morning happened because of the giving that you guys do, and we all know what God says about that. You give regardless.
That's right.
It's the old feeling of, I had somebody ask me one time, said, I pulled up somebody that had a sign out that said, veteran, no work, please give, but looked like a crackhead. I didn't want to give him any money. I said, that's not what it says in the Bible about giving. But you guys got blessed that way. But then again, what does God say about blessing 10 times? Mm-hmm. You guys, almost 10 times you blessed everybody else in the process. And I can't help but mention that because it's just, I kind of feel it in my heart and soul right now with thinking about that.
Yeah.
So
well,
cool.
I appreciate you sharing that. It was a good morning. And again, I just, everything worked out right. And, we all had them days where everything goes wrong. It's really funny. And Dennis will tell you his favorite hunt was the next day, the next one, because the next hunt, everything went absolutely wrong. I don't know. We had the mud hole video, but we still shot like 37 mallards out of that hole. Yeah. And it wasn't even ankle deep. I don't know, man. That weekend was just one to remember.
That's so great, man. So can you kind of talk about what's on the agenda for you, either you personally or you and Dennis and Dr. Ducko? Where are you guys going to be at this year? I mean, what's going on? I know you guys are doing off-season stuff. You got all these things to do with Realtree and your other partners and stuff. And, what you doing in the off-season, and what do you guys got your eyes on as far as like states and stuff where you want to go this year?
We do. We're going to do the Delta deal in Arkansas at the end of this month, and then August we'll do Game Fair in Minnesota with our partners at Victor Pet Food, and then we're trying. I'll be honest with you, Dennis busy time of year, and he's had his pops is getting a little older, and he's had some stuff going on, so we decided we especially when you add gas prices and the cost of everything this year traveling, we're going to just try and stay a little closer to home probably. Mm-hmm. I think most years we used to start in Canada, and then when all the COVID stuff hit, we stopped going there, and we did the Dakotas last few years, and last year we actually cut short of there and did some other states in that area. But all of them are, everybody always asks what's your favorite state to hunt. They're all great places to be because they're so different, and you experience new people and different types of hunting. But I do know we are trying. I don't know if you know Jim Caesar.
Yeah. The guy that music and all that. Yeah.
Jim is a wonderful young man. He's such a good kid, and he's always a joy to be around. We've hunted with him several times. He's a guide in Louisiana, and they do alligators, redfish, and teal.
Nice.
We're talking about trying to go over there during teal season this year, and we're calling it the trifecta.
Yeah,
that would be great if you guys did that. Maybe.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good time. In Louisiana, you could bow fish redfish.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah, so we thought that's not something you can do here. At least you could, and you may be able to now. I don't watch those laws closely, but historically, you haven't been able to shoot game fish with bows in our state. So we thought it'd be really cool to go over there, bow fish some redfish, shoot some teal. So we're trying to make that happen. If Jim could work it out, we'll do that with him. And most of that'll be public. And we're trying to make a East Coast swing happen. That's an area we haven't been to. One of our first camera guys, excuse me.
Yeah. The guy from New York, right?
Yeah. C-Duck. He lives up there, and he's got some public access that he says the black ducks are pretty prominent in his area, and That's something that Dennis and I have never shot a lot of. In fact, I've only seen one shot in all of our years of hunting. Him and my son both wrecked it, so we weren't able to put it on the wall. But
Oh no.
I don't have quite the eye. And my younger son, he's an incredible shot, quite the outdoorsman. And Dennis has always been a great shot. And we had a group about 8 or 9 ducks work in, and they both picked that sucker out and smoked it.
Wow.
And, it was wrecked. But we shot that in Arkansas. That's the only black duck I've ever seen shot. So we thought it'd be kind of cool to get up there and get on some black ducks. And we made some friends over the years who do some sea duck stuff, and we may try and make that happen. We're still trying to work the details out on that. But in all honesty, that's really the only 2 big trips. Everything else, we're probably going to stay a little closer to home. We always hunt, and we used to hunt more in Louisiana. The birds ain't like they used to be. Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas are always, later in the year pretty decent. So I don't know. We're just going to kind of wait and see what happens.
That's awesome, man. And you bringing up the black duck in the hole, I wanted to ask you, what's like the craziest thing you've shot or seen shot in like a timber hole? You hear people like, oh, I shot a snow goose, or, I shot a, whatever, a pintail. What's like the craziest thing you've seen?
I shot a speckled belly in the trees one time.
Really?
Was he already stuck up there?
That'd be my luck. I can run into some stuff, I tell you. No, that was years ago, and I'm terrible speckled belly goose caller, but I always kept one in my bag. I love speckled belly goose hunting, and if I was going to hunt a field, it'd be for speckled bellies probably. I mean, we do some field hunting for mallards up north, but I don't know. Speckled bellies work a lot like a mallard, and I ain't nothing I'd rather eat. They eat so well. And we had this little old single come over one time years ago, and I started digging. Boy, I was so excited, and Dennis just hollering at me, "You ain't doing nothing but ruin our duck hunt. That stupid thing ain't gonna come down the trees." And I just woo. I start hollering at it. That sucker starts circling the trees, and Dennis, that stupid thing ain't coming. He just playing with you now. He circled the trees, and he got lower and lower. I kept on it. He kept talking back, and he must have been really stupid to come anywhere close to what I was doing. But he did. He dropped down the top. He acted like he was gonna come, and he got close to them trees and realized that probably wasn't where he's supposed to be, but he got a little too close, and I smoked him. So for me personally, that was it was my favorite, oddest thing I've seen in trees. I've heard people do it before, but I'd never seen it done. And Dennis is one of his highlights. I'll never forget. We were having a smoke show of a hunt over one thawed out pond, a little spring fed deal. Everything else is froze up, and there were, in fact, if you looked at, if you ever seen Duck Trip, it was some of that footage is in there, and we were smoking mallards and pintails, and this old merganser comes by, and Dennis just absolutely lays a pipe to it, and I like to fell out. I mean, we're working. I'm talking. We got 4, 5, 6 guys, and we're working birds, and this merganser comes by, and he jumps out of the blind and just smoke holes it. Jumps out, takes off running on a full sprint to get this. And I'm like, I look at everybody else, I'm like, what did he just shoot? And the guy at the end, I'm pretty sure that was a merganser. But it was a common merganser, which we don't have around here.
Yeah.
And he wanted to put it on his wall, so he messed up our volley. Shoot some stray merganser that happened to be flying by. But we've seen some neat. I talked to a lot of smart people who tell you this kind of bird, that kind of bird, that ain't me. I mean, I have a hard enough time identifying birds when we go to prairie regions. I stick to mallards most of all. And Dennis is really good at IDing stuff, and even yet, especially the last couple years, we've seen some. In fact, we had 2 shot on that opening day in Arkansas that were, I don't know if you'd call them a hybrid. They were a mix. One of the guys, I think Tripp. I do think the guy from Florida ended up taking one of them.
Wow.
But it was some kind of cross between a mallard and something. And I couldn't begin to tell you, but I've seen some neat birds that, mallard, he ain't no shame in his game. He'll hang out with anything, I reckon. And so we've seen some pretty interesting crosses, but those 2 memories come to mind real quick on kind of weird things I've seen.
That's awesome stuff, man. And one thing I gotta bring up is this Journey backpack. That I've been hot on the Journey backpack. I did a little review on it, but man, I am excited to use that thing this season.
I appreciate that so much. I use a lot of different things, and I try a lot of different things. And historically, my favorite bag probably till this year had always Cabela's had an old bag that I used for years, and it was just old cinch up water repellent backpack. But we put a lot. I had a lot of input with Dennis on the Hunt Locker, which I liked. But at the end of the day, I really felt like completely waterproof is where you got to get to. And I know that thing ain't cheap, but I'm gonna tell you, Trisha, I took that thing and I put it in the river and sit on it while I hunt it. And
wow,
not a drop of water gets in that bag. And
wow.
And I think just like those Yeti coolers, probably you got to be careful and take care of those zippers and use that zipper wax or whatever they give you to put on them things. But I absolutely, and I know it's got the Dr. Duck name on it, but it is, and maybe I'm biased, but I feel like I've hunted with about every bag there is, and that is absolutely my favorite backpack.
Well, man, coming from like hunting a lot of marshes and like Florida and stuff, and I mean, the thing is, some guy came up with a thing. I think he's actually called the Swamp Stick on Instagram, but he's got the little pole, you hang your bag on. But before that, you're sitting your bag on some reeds or something, and the bottom of it, like I bought a bag from a big company last year, and had some stuff in it, and by the first time I used it, this is supposed to be a wax, waterproof bag, all this stuff. The first time I used it, and only the bottom of it was sitting in the water. It's, my shells are wet and all this stuff. So for me, I think a lot of hunters would agree, like, to get something that's gonna like dramatically improve your hunt like that.
Sure.
I mean, not that price isn't a thing, but like at some point you're like, do I buy $300 bags or do I buy one that's gonna last me longer? So
right. Well, the values and the quality of the product, right?
Yeah,
no doubt about it. No, I mean, I'm sitting here as we're sitting here, and I'm looking at several years ago I bought the first version of the Hunt Locker, and hunters. There's so many of you that duck hunt and deer hunt. I use this thing, deer. I mean, it's got the real tree timber pattern on it. It's the older version, but still, dude, how great is it to have that strap, put it around a tree, you're up there deer hunting, and have, for an OCD person,
yeah.
Dude, I saw that. I go, I can put the shelves, I can adjust them, I can make sure, and of course, I had to make sure the Velcro was exactly perfect level on every shelf. But I've got all my stuff in there, from my $0 hat to my camo face paint, everything else.
Rangefinder.
Yeah, you name it. And it's just all right there in front of me. Zipped out. I mean, it's awesome. But as far as duck hunting goes, where I got sold with that product, again, using it. This is not anything I'm trying to do to promote Dr. Duck Company. I'm just telling you the facts. We went out there. I wanted to buy this thing because we're hunting Arkansas public land first time. The area where we were trying to find mallards, which there were none. We were titty deep, and below 35-degree water, just under freezing. And I could put that thing up around the tree and keep all my stuff dry.
Yeah.
Was priceless, man. I mean, it was like game changer. This is like when bread was first made. I mean, it was just, it was such a great thing. And then Tristan comes to me, he goes, Dad. I go, what? He goes, did you see what they did with the backpack? I go, what? He goes, it's 100% waterproof. I go, well, those son of a guns, they didn't give me a trade-in on this thing. No, but good for you guys, though. But just constantly looking to improve the product for the hunter. I mean, just
like you're talking about in that deep water, Tony. I mean, how many times you jump out of the boat and the first thing you do, you grab all them decoys, you just pull them over out of the boat and you drop them right in the water, right?
Right.
And then you're going to go set up your stuff. Well, right now I grab my backpack and I pull it out and I drop it in the water too.
Wow.
I don't even have to, it floats. And as long as you got those zippers locked all the way up, I mean, it's been, and here's the other thing for me. I'm short, and almost everywhere we go, inevitably, when I wear a backpack, the bottom quarter of it is going to be in the water. And all the time, I love backpacks just so I can keep free hands to carry decoys, ducks, or help a kid or whatever. Having free hands is a big deal for me. So The more I could put in my backpack, that's why they're a little bigger. But everything would always get wet, and everybody would be like, "Man, how are your stuff get wet?" I was like, "Hey, you seen how tall I am, bro? I mean, 6 foot something, you ain't got no troubles. My little 4'2" butt, man, everything I carry dragging the water."
That's so awesome.
It was a big deal, and I'm gonna tell you, we've got some time in it, hunting in the field, and I absolutely love that thing. I really do. And like you're talking about, I wouldn't call myself OCD, but I do try and I can't stand a messy bag. And the only waterproof bags that I was able to find were all the big single hole satchel types where everything you got to shove in there. And inevitably anything that I want is going to be all the way on the bottom.
Yep.
Right. And if I'm standing in a couple feet of water, it just I don't know. And even Tristan, like you're saying, there's a lot of cool stuff out there. You get the poles, and there was another company years ago that made something similar to that, and it was cool. And I think the Quack Shack guys have one too with a box on the top. And that's one of them things you get. And we used to buy all that stuff and try it, and it ended up sitting in the boat seat. It just, at the end of the day, we wanted to grab a gun, a backpack, decoys, and go. And we buy little bitty jerk rigs that can fit in our backpacks, and we just, I hunt with a guy who likes to walk a lot. So the more streamlined you can be, the better off you're gonna be.
Oh man. So we're gonna get off topic of hunting right now. How about them Braves? What do you think about it,
I saw
man?
you went to the game, you dirty dog. Hey, I got a bone to pick. You went to game 2 of the Mets, right?
No, it was game 2 of the Cardinals.
Okay. All right. I don't know why I was thinking. Maybe I saw somebody else with the game 2 of the Mets. I was finna get on you because that's the only game they won against the Mets. I'm going to tell you, we're going to have to start a pot to send Tony to all the rest of the home Braves games.
Well, get this crap, Billy. So my fiance works for a lighting company. She sells lighting and calls on a lot of architecture firms and, whatever. And she gets a company kind of card kind of thing. And she goes to Braves games she went yesterday at 12 o'clock and she said she was working. I'm like, you're not working.
Yeah, get out of here. It's like being at the golf course, Yeah, no, but we can't help but talk about, before we kind of get into the closing here is, you guys, we didn't just create this brand and then one day call up Billy and just say, hey, can you be on the podcast? We got a little bit of a relationship, and I think it speaks innocently, truthfully, and loudly to who these guys are, and especially you, Billy. Billy and I first connected via email. I had some questions about hunting public land in Arkansas, And this is prior to us filming that video, Tristan. And, he helped me out the best he could. Like I said, I'm not going to tell you where our hole is, but, answered my questions. And I knew what questions that, to me, public hunter to public hunter, you just don't, you don't go past that,
Right.
And I want to thank you for, number one, with all the messages you get and everything you get going on. Number one, just taking the time to reach out to me, and it was timely, and, I think we kind of had a little bit of a relationship there. And I know last year I had discovered that, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I was trying to figure out what we needed for a commercial permit to be able to film on public land in Arkansas. And I didn't know. So I didn't want to bug a lot of people. I didn't I'm just going to email Billy and ask him, I just want to do my own research because that way I learned what's going on. And I ended up talking to this lady. They said it was in charge. I don't remember what her title was. And she said, well, sir, you don't need that. And I said, I don't. She goes, no, we changed that. And I don't know what year it was. It was a couple years before. And I said, okay, well, everybody else thinks different. I said, because I know people that have been getting their permit pulled by game wardens out in the field. I think you even told me, Billy, he goes, man, we got stopped the other day. He goes, he didn't even ask me for my personal one. He just asked him for your permit,
That's right.
And long story short, what it was, and I'm not trying to knock on Arkansas Game and Fish here, but that the decision was made. There was a communication breakdown out to the game wardens, and I got a picture straight from somebody who works directly with the director of the Arkansas Game and Fish, and showed me it right out of the manual. And he said, save this. Because I know, and just like Billy, we get to know some of these game wardens on this public land, and I know this one, for sure, is going to call me out. And I'm going to have everything together when it comes to that time. But that's kind of like where our relationship started, is where I was getting at. And then not too long after that, my son goes to a Braves and Cardinals game. And he's
I don't know if they're playing the Cardinals.
Well, you did you have a Cardinals shirt on?
I had a Cardinals shirt on.
Yeah, because we come from St. Louis, and it's just the same kind of community as the Braves. Is that if it's St. Louis, if it's Atlanta, if it's New York, you love your baseball. And so he goes to the game, and he sends me this text, and he goes, look what I ran into. And I go, get the heck out of here, man. And what are the odds of that?
And actually, speaking of my fiance, she had got tickets to that game through her work, and I saw on your story that you're at the Braves game, but it's not like I'm out here trying to hunt Billy down or anything.
Oh, don't lie. I'm stalking him.
No, I'm walking. We're getting drinks or something. And I'm like, holy shit, that's Billy. So I was I had to say hi. I was me and my dad have been watching you for years on YouTube.
Man, that was awesome. It's a really small world, and I get a lot of messages later that say, "Hey, I saw you at so and so game." I'm thinking, well, I respond. I'm like, why didn't you say something?
Right.
I didn't want to bother you. I was like, dude, bother me. It's not a bother me. Let's shake hands. I mean, we ain't here for a very long time. We got to make the most of it, man. And opportunity to shake your hand at that game. I'll be honest with you. Hipster Woodsman on Instagram?
Hipster Woodsman. I don't know if I do.
You look him up. He's a really good photographer.
Okay.
And he's a super guy. I ran into him that night too.
Wow.
I ran into 4 or 5 guys, to be honest with you, that I stopped and shook hands with. And I love it, man. I think it's great. It's so great that duck hunting can just our passion for being outside, chasing birds, leads us to want to get to know each other better and hang out. And before it's over, I'm sure we'll be able to shoot some ducks together too.
Yeah.
So. Heck yeah, man.
For sure. But it sure feels good pulling a Texas guy over here into Georgia, man. I'll tell you, because, and let's give a big shout out for Georgia guys out there. We're some duck grinding, getting our ass kicked addicted son of a guns out here, man.
Yeah.
And anytime you're out in Arkansas and you hear, oh, there's an out-of-stater. Where's he from? Georgia. You know, either from Georgia or South Carolina, man.
Yeah, that's funny. I've got several states that I go to in our area that there's a group of guys out of South Carolina I run into in multiple states every year on public ground.
Wow.
Super guys. I've never hunted with them. I've had lunch with them, but one's an older fella with some of his buddies, and then he brings his boys, and it's just it's super cool. We run into them every year, it seems like, and I run into a ton of folks from Georgia. There's some guys that we've become pretty good friends with and hung out with. A couple of them I got to run into at the turkey show this year in Tennessee. Nice. But they spend a good bit of time over in Arkansas, and it's always nice to run into them. But yeah, man, being the same age, Tony. Growing up, we if you like me probably are, we didn't get to watch a lot of TV. Mm-mm. And anytime I turned TV on, it was going to be on TBS. It's like the only channel we got. Yep. And the Braves were always on television.
Right, right.
So I just always been a Braves fan, and it's fun to watch. It's actually been kind of frustrating to watch. Obviously, last year was a good year, but I thought they had a better chance to win it the year before, and they should be twice as good this year. And the slow starts are killing them. But
yeah, man. I mean,
it'll work out.
I think so too. And man, it's crazy because like coming from Illinois and St. Louis and stuff originally, like. Being a Cardinals fan, like being here, you can't help but embrace the culture of baseball here. And I hear it from my fiance, and my fiance's dad works for 680 The Fan, which is the Braves radio.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like I hear it from both of them. And I've been to more games in the last year than I've been to Cardinal games in my whole life. So I'm like, my dad's already converted to the Braves, but I'm sitting over here like on the fence, you know.
Hey, Billy, let me tell you a little story here, man. You're going to love this. You're going to love it. So my wife, you know, we've been Cardinals fans. I mean, I grew up Ozzie Smith, you know, you know, Whitey Herzog, all of that. And anyway, you know, there's nothing like it in baseball. And I think every city like I named those three, New York, Atlanta, St. Louis, you know, it's a different experience. But so we have been planning for months. The Cardinals and the Braves are playing on 4th of July. Yep. And that's when I messaged you. And I just said, hey, if you're happening in town, let me know, you know. Well, what I didn't tell my wife is that I had my conversion outfit. And so I had my Braves hat. I got my Braves shirt. You know, I got my red Nikes. I got it all, man. And so we're getting ready to leave. And she goes, what is that? And I go, it's Brave stuff. She goes, I'm going to cry. And I go, what do you mean you're going to cry? She goes, you've been a Cardinals fan for so long. And I said, well, now I'm not. I go, I live here. I listen to the announcers. I embrace the sport. I mean, I love living in St. Louis and listen to old Jack Buck and Joe Buck. I mean, legendary announcers, you know. And I love the announcers of the Braves, and I love 680 The Fan is awesome. And I just love the culture of the sport here. It's just like, it's so relatable, but on a different level.
For sure.
Yeah, it is something. I think you nailed it with those three teams. There's a lot of history there.
There sure is. I mean, we used to call Chipper Jones the Cardinals killer. Yeah. Is what we called him, because it never failed, man. If we were playing the Braves in the playoffs, especially in the 90s back then during the Glavine times and Smoltz and all those guys, and man, if we're up 2-1 and there's 2 on and Chipper Jones is up, just turn around and go home, because you just saw the walk off. It's going to happen every time. Every time.
He was a Cardinal killer. He was a Met killer. He's probably one of my favorite players of all time, honestly. And anytime you could hit 300 from both sides of the plate, and in a tenured career like he had, that's pretty special.
Well, we just went to Luke Bryan last Saturday night out Lakewood here, And Chipper, he had him up on the
that's right.
stage.
Did he really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you wanted to hear the crowd take it up a notch, boy. When Tripper Jones got it announced, boy, it just, I almost had to hold my ears, all the young girls, you know, I was like, ow. You know what I mean?
Didn't he
Just-
bring him a beer or something?
Yeah.
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 funny,
Brought him
man.
a beer, but it was cool. But,
God.
but man, look, we've had so much of your time, and honest to God, I could sit here and talk to you all night. I mean, I could, and I appreciate you so much, but I want to respect your time. Just kind of wrapping it up, where do you guys got going on? Where can everybody find you guys at? How can they go check out some of these products? Just kind of give us all that, would you?
Yeah, for sure. DrDuck.com is the website, and it'll have links to pretty much everything we do there. All the video stuff that we do. A lot of the newer stuff is on Federal Black Cloud YouTube channel.
Mhm.
And of course, Realtree has their own app, which it's on a lot of the smart TVs. I got it on my Apple TV, and if you hadn't checked it out, it's really a cool station. It's just called Realtree 365, and all the video. Obviously, they've been deer heavy for years and years, but they've got some really cool shows on there. I don't even have cable TV no more. That Apple TV is kind of, to your point with the Braves, the only thing. I'll buy some TV subscriptions. I'll buy movies here and there, but I buy MLB TV every year since they started, and I just get to watch every Braves game whenever I get time.
Mhm.
So I end every day when I get into bed, I just turn the Braves game on so I can stay caught up. But Realtree 365 is a great app, and our the Dr. Duck stuff is on it. And of course, we got the podcast, which has hit a pretty good lick, and it's always a good time, as you guys very well know, getting to talk to folks, and you can find it on Apple and wherever else. But usually you can just punch in Dr. Duck on YouTube, and something will pop up. But the majority of what we do is public, and we'll be that way. We're getting older, but something about it, Tony, you get it. We're just gonna stay after 'em, man. Every year, Dennis said, "Man, I'm getting too old for this." But every next year, we end up back doing it again. So,
Well, I know, you know, from how this journey
Yeah.
started between the three of us here. I just know that a journey's in stake out there in that flooded timber. So,
Yeah.
I know we'll run into you out there. But until then, man, God bless you all, and thanks for everything you do, and keep it up, man. We're all inspired by what you do, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Billy.
No, thank you guys for the great message that you share on your podcast, and y'all keep it going, man. Looking for big things from y'all.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir. Thank
that,
you.
man.
I've been southbound, I've been hellbound, riding on a midnight train.